Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Today I'm going to be working on my Vietnam style Ficus microcarpa. The first thing I'm going to do today is spray it. I noticed it had a little bit of whitefly on the underside of some of the leaves, so I'm going to give that a spray down. And I'll also spray the rest of the trees in my plant room. So I just have this tree outside in the greenhouse here for the day while I work on it, and then it'll go back inside as the temperatures cool down over the next few days. All right, here I go with the soap and water, spraying the underside first. Like that, and then I'll spray from above. And then I'll let it sit for a bit and then rinse it off thoroughly. Here's a look at the tree. I repotted this tree in October of last year, so it recovered from the repotting very well and continued to grow over the winter. Yeah, and it's looking quite full. So today I'm going to prune it up, kind of getting it ready to go eventually out here in the greenhouse in spring. There's a few long shoots that are starting to take off, and it could use a little bit of pruning here and there. So that's what I'm doing today. My first step is to take a look at the tree, an overall look. And there's been one branch that's kind of been bothering me a lot. And that is this little branch here. It's kind of growing from the inside of a curve. And I think the tree would look a little more graceful and flowing without that branch. I think it kind of spoils that side of the tree. It also would provide a little asymmetry in the tree. I don't want the tree to look, perfectly symmetrical or anything. Yeah, so that's a possibility. This trunk line here is a little straight in the upper section. I could prune it back to this side branch to get a bit more movement in it. So that's a possibility. Other than that, I think design-wise, other than just pruning it back, I think it's okay. There's nothing else that really bothers me with the tree. I think it's filling out quite nicely from all views. So I think I'm going to remove this branch here. It's always bothered me. Every time I look at the tree, I think it would look better without that branch. So I'm going to do it. So it's a little bit thick where it comes out of the trunk line, so I'm going to have to take it back a bit more. So here I go. I'm going to commit to removing that branch. Big cut coming up. Done. Yeah, I like it better without that branch. Now, can I make it a little more flush maybe? Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Okay, so that is done. Just stepping back, having a look. Yeah, it definitely provides a bit of asymmetry to the tree. Now, my second question, I talked about taking, you can see this trunk, it goes up. This part kind of continues that line. If I pruned it back to this side one, it would have a bit more movement to it. And these two trunks kind of grow in front of each other anyway, so it wouldn't hurt to remove it. It would expose that a bit more. I think I need to do that. It's just too straight looking, this section. So another big cut coming up. But I think it's for the better. So here I go. I've just got to figure out how I'm going to get in here. I think using the scissors is better. Okay, here I go. Another big cut coming up. Just like that. So that is coming off. I like that better too. It breaks up that vertical line. It makes the tree a little more wide and spreading. So I'm going to clean that cut point up a bit more. Like that. I think. Yeah, that's good there. Okay. Whew. Two major kind of styling issues addressed. And then the other question is on this branch, the one that's behind. It's also kind of fairly vertical. And I'm wondering if that would be improved by taking out this center one that's growing quite tall. I don't know. See, there's nothing really fanning out too much from this area until I get up higher. It's quite a vertical branch. I'll leave it for now. I'll prune up the tree and then review it at the end of the video and see if it bothers me or not. If it bothers me, then I can work on it. But if it's okay, I'll leave it. It never hurts to think about your trees a lot and, take time on some big decisions, because once they're done, they're done. Okay, I think next it's just time to do a general pruning to the tree, some of these vigorous branches up top. So I'm up top, so I'm looking, here's a very vertical branch here. So I'm going to prune it back to some leaves that are fanning outwards. So back to here, taking that tip off that branch. Here's another vertical one, and I notice there's some scale insects on it. So I'm going to have to go over the tree. Now this branch comes from a very awkward place. There's a branch straight above it. And yeah, I just don't like any of those. They're kind of pointing back in towards the center of the tree, so I'm taking them all out. So there goes that branch. I'll just clean that up a little better. Okay, and then the next tall branch I see is this one. So let me see if there's something, a leaf fanning out the back. There is here, here, and here. So I think I'll go back to here. Taking that off. There's a vigorous branch here I can prune back. I have the original leaf where it emerged from this branch tip. And then it comes out, and I have one coming forward and one coming backwards and one out here. So I'm just going to take the tip off that one. Keeping all these leaves are fanning outwards. This one is getting quite tall. I'll prune it back to here, taking the tip off, and maybe I've got to go a little further to there. I have a shoot here. It's getting a little tall. I'll prune it back to an outwards facing leaf. I've got a shoot here that's getting quite long. Prune it back to here. There's a shoot here that's quite long, and it's crossing over my other trunk line. Don't really think I need that at all, but I'll keep it. I'll just cut it back. Maybe cut it back even further so it's not overlapping the other branches. So that's kind of got all my you know, really vigorous branches cut back. This branch, I could cut it back a little further, I think. It's still a little long there. Yeah, like that. Now, let me have a look at what the tree looks like now. So back to the front. So there is a look at the tree. You can see it looks much better. It's more in proportion. However, it is getting a little tall. I think if the height were reduced a bit, it would look better. So I think I've got to look for places to reduce the overall height. I certainly did it on this branch, but maybe I need to do some on the... This one's getting very vertical looking also. Yeah, I think I could reduce that back based on some of these lower branches. I can prune the upper ones off. So let me do that. So I could certainly reduce this one back. You can see I have like a vertical part that continues this part of the trunk line going up. I could prune it to this branch at the front here, so I will. Taking the tip off that one. And could I even go lower, or do I want to go lower is the question. I'm thinking so. I've got a good branch coming out the front, and I could reduce it right back to there. It would take some of that verticality off the tree. I think I better do that. Otherwise it'll just keep getting too tall. I'd rather it spreading than tall, so I'm going to take that branch off. So here I go. Taking that back. So hopefully it looks a little bit shorter now. It should be once I finish here anyway. There's a stub I can take back here from previous prunings. And then this one is a little vertical. I could take it back to where? I have a leaf here I could take it back to. I think I will. Tip off there. This one I could take back to here. Subtle, you know, just little bits of pruning that take the height down. This one is quite vertical. I'm going to take it right back. There's an old leaf here I can remove. This one coming out the front, I can take the tip off. And this one's kind of a bit long and straight. I don't think there's much I can do about it other than I could take the tip off, I guess. So hopefully that's making it look a little more compact. There's a branch here I can take the tip off. Like that. This one's getting out of the profile. It's getting way too long. So I need to prune it back. I've got some buds here, so I'll take the tip off there. There's a branch back here that's getting a little long and vertical. I'm going to take that back. And there's one here that's quite vertical too. I'll take that right back. Okay, so that's all helping. I have a branch coming out the front here. I have a bud back here. I can take this one back, so I will. Stub here. This branch here going a funny direction. I'm going to remove that one. Scale blister there I can take off. This one can be reduced back. Bit of an odd branch, but it's the only one I have there. There's a strong shoot here. It's kind of crossing everything. It needs to be brought back. I'll prune it back to here, and then maybe if I get a branch coming out here, I can prune it back further in the future. This one's a little tall here. I can take the tip off. I'm wondering if I can take this one back a bit further. Maybe not. Don't see any good buds on it. This branch tip can be brought back a bit. No, there's no good buds on that either. Okay, I think I pretty well got the pruning done. I think everything's looking okay. The next thing I want to do is, I've got that scale insect problem, so I've got to go over the whole tree and just look for scale blisters, pick them off, and then I might respray the tree once more with the soap and water before it goes back inside. I thought maybe the whitefly was causing it to not grow quite as healthy as it was early in the winter, but I think it's the scale. I think there's not a lot, like I'm not seeing it on all these branches, but I've got to carefully examine the tree and make sure I got it off, otherwise the problem will just get worse. Especially on this tree, it's starting to get, the foliage is quite dense and it gets hard to see scale insects without totally defoliating the tree. There's an old leaf I can take off here. It's kind of crossing another branch. There's one on the inside here I can remove. Just a little more light into some of these branches. I am tempted to take this top off that one branch. I don't know. I'll leave it on for now. There is a new shoot back here I'm going to remove. It's kind of crossing everything. It's not in a good location. And yeah. Okay, so I think I'm going to just go over the tree now, looking for scale insects, and then I'll respray it. So I'm looking, I haven't found any scale blisters so far. I must have pruned them all off because I'm just not seeing any, which is good. I'm checking underneath the leaves too, and they're looking good. There's a few stubs I can clean up while I'm checking out the tree in detail. Okay, I'm happy. I don't see any scale insects, so that's really good. Let's pull a few weeds out of the pot here. Okay, and I'll respray it just to be on the safe side. So this is soap and water, the liquid dish soap you use for hand washing dishes, and I mix about 1 part of that liquid dish soap and 40 parts of rainwater. So here I go spraying again. Make sure you get in at all the places. Spray the pot down too. And I'll let that sit again and rinse it down. Here's what I took off the tree today. So there's what's remaining on the tree. And here's what I took off. So yeah, not too much. Just a few long shoots and a few branches. A light pruning today. Alright, it's time to rinse the tree down. It's been sitting for about 4 or 5 minutes. I'll give it a good thorough rinse. Get all that Soap rinsed out of the soil and off the leaves. Let's fly in now and have a final look at the tree for today. My Vietnam style ficus here is one of my favorites in my collection. I've always said that bonsai, I try and capture all the mature characteristics of a tree in as small a tree as possible, and I think this tree has a lot of that going. It has, it's kind of captured the mature trunks and aerial roots and branch structure, and yet the tree is only like the height of my hand high. And to me, that's a successful bonsai if you've created a very small tree with all the mature characteristics of a full-size tree. So that is it for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.